if you look at the north of the country, where Boko Haram is strong, it's those three places, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. And the reason why those places are porous, you can see how big on the map is almost a third of Nigeria, Yobe, Borno, and Adamawa. How do you police a border that is about 300 kilometers long with very few personnel? So we've been really struggling to police our borders. And that's why you find that Boko Haram is able to go into Chad, go into Niger, and go into Adamawa. So for a very long time to come, unless Nigeria's revenue increases on a massive scale, and unless we police those borders, Boko Haram will still be strong. And the reason why Boko Haram is also very strong is because if you look at states like Jigawa, which is one of the poorest in Nigeria, and Gombe, those states in the north don't have any oil at all. The oil in Nigeria is at the bottom here. If we remove Bayelsa, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom, if we just drop them a little bit further out of the map, Nigeria's oil disappears completely, because those are the three richest states. Now look at how far they are from Katsina, where President Buhari comes from. So a man who comes from Katsina is now having to prosecute the wealth that comes at the bottom. Isn't that an irony? And also, if we look at President Buhari's appointments before the cabinet, 90% of his appointments has gone to the north of the country. That has caused a lot of concern. But he said that he would only put people around him who have voted for him. So you'll expect him to be a president for all Nigerians, regardless of who voted for him. So he's already getting some flack for that. So I think the security of Nigeria, the president is serious about it, but he doesn't have the funds to really make a lot of progress. Also, the army is done a lot in terms of reshuffling the army. The GOCs, what they call the General Officer Commandings, they've changed a lot of the personnel. Also, the guys who were sacked under the previous regime, they brought a lot of them back, because what the previous guys were doing was that if you run away from Boko Haram, they'll sack you. They'll say you're lazy, you're not brave, but they never really gave them the weapons, right? So now what President Buhari has done is, look, let's bring them back, let's train them properly. Now I want to really now go into the reason why Boko Haram has really come up in Nigeria. If you look at the way Nigeria is run, there's something in Nigeria called Oga at the top. What that means is, if you want to do business in Nigeria, it's psychological. People will still want to see President Buhari. Even if they see the minister, they'll say, this minister can be sacked. We need to go and see the president. Now, psychology is that many of the rich people in Nigeria, they forget the people at the bottom. And if you look at Boko Haram, the reason why they're successful is because there's so many people in the north who have very little education, who have hardly 3 meals a day. If you hear about those statistics, Nigerians, 70% of Nigerians live on less than $1 a day. That's the truth about Nigeria. We have a lot of rich people, but we have a lot of poor people. And because we have such a huge population, it plays into the hands of the Boko Haramists, who now go and give people 1,000 naira and turn them into suicide bombers. Because how does somebody become a suicide bomber? How much do you pay someone to blow up themselves? In Nigeria, very little. And because those guys, you know, when they talk about rising frustrations, rising expectations leading to rising frustrations, there's so many people who don't have jobs. There's so many people who don't have education, particularly in the north. And those guys are real opportunity for Boko Haram to be able to wage this war against the state.